Hello, welcome back to my channel, Intuitive Insights in Tarot. I'm Scott. Thank you for being here. Today, I'm going to take a look at chemtrails and specifically to see if the chemtrails that people were reporting seeing in the Midwest and the central part of the US just before this unprecedented cold snap, or maybe it's not unprecedented, but extreme cold weather that is coming to the US and parts of Europe and Asia. I want to see if specifically I'm going to be looking at the chemtrails that people were reporting over places like Kentucky and that the middle section of the US. I saw people I know on Facebook reporting those chemtrails. Before I get into it, I want to talk a little bit about my perspective on chemtrails. They've never really been a big interest to me. And the reason for that is I didn't see them here in Thailand. I remember, gosh, it must have been, well, over 12 years ago when I first started hearing the word chemtrails and people talking about how these were not usual contrails, which is condensation that's created by the thrust of the engine in certain atmospheric conditions, that this was something being sprayed in the atmosphere. This must have been around 2012 or shortly after 2012. And at the time, the reason that people thought that it was happening was to fill the air with aluminum, barium, and other particles, not to affect the weather or to affect human physiology or the mind or anything, but to create a screen onto which blue beam could be projected to create the fake alien invasion, which I don't believe that is not any longer ever a possibility. The fake alien invasion. Um, but this was what was being talked about back then. Um, and I was questioning like if there was even a real thing that was happening. And then I would have friends of mine who were not conspiracy theorists at all, people who were out at the park playing frisbee golf, and I would see pictures of the sky showing these what looked like chemtrails, unusual contrails. So there would be a lot of them crisscrossing the sky, kind of like what you see here, and then they would spread out. Kind of. By the way, this is an AI generated image. I asked AI to make an image like this, and this is what it provided. But it's very similar to what happens. You'll see a trail, and then it'll spread out, and it'll make these big mats in the sky. Um, so this was the original purpose that I heard that they were spraying chemtrails for. Now it's gone into all kinds of other things like poisoning us, making us sick, or I should say, making you guys sick because we haven't had them here. A way of controlling people. Like when I talked to a friend of mine, former friend of mine, about the conspiracy theory behind chemtrails, and he's like, "Yeah, well, why do you think they don't spray in Thailand?" Well, if the chemtrails are to control people's minds and get them to become sheep, they don't have to do it in Thailand because the people here are already easily controllable. they're, they're very sheepish people in Thailand. They do what they're told for the most part. People are still wearing masks out in public, alone in isolated places by themselves, and people are still wearing masks. Nobody argued about getting the vaccine as far as Thai people that I know. So anyways, so I didn't have a big interest in chemtrails, the whole thing of it. Um, and here's another thing that I want to talk about. I've had probably half a dozen clients ask me about the chemtrails in their area. Actually, not that many. I'd say three or four. Three or four clients have asked me what was going on with the chemtrails in their area. And what I got was that these were benevolent, that these were like countering the effects of whatever the other chemtrails were doing. They were there to help clean up the atmosphere. Now, that doesn't mean all chemtrails everywhere. That's just the chemtrails that those in those particular geographical regions that those people asked me about. Does that mean that all chemtrails are now good and there are no such thing as Maleficent? How do you say that word? Nefarious chemtrails being up? I don't know because I haven't looked at every chemtrail from every plane that's ever been sprayed. All right. Um, so that's why, for the purposes of this reading, I'm going to look specifically at the chemtrails that were reported over the Midwest of the U.S. just before this cold snap happened. Um, was there any connection between those chemtrails and this very cold weather? By the way, have things recovered? Are you guys back to normal temperatures? And I also know that it only happened in the east and not the west. I know, like Cherie said that she had her warmest birthday ever this month. I'll come back and look at the chat later. Answers. I don't want to get distracted by looking at the chat now. Oh, so before I get into the woo-woo part of it, using the cards, I want to read what the narrative, the official scientific narrative regarding chemtrails is. And that's why I don't want to sit here and let you guys look at me reading. So I'm going to switch over to something interesting to look at while I read this. This is the part that the editor will cut out, I hope. All right. Okay. So enjoy this cool graphic that I created as I read to you what the science says about the polar vortex breaking up. What meteorologists do know from the reliable record since around 1979, so not a long time. Oops. Okay. Polar vortex breakups and collapses via sudden stratospheric warming are normal, though not every winter sees a dramatic one. In that record, there have been multiple strong SSWs, that's sudden stratospheric warming, like disruptions where the vortex broke up, split, or was displaced. The timing of breakup varies year to year. Some years have later than average breakups. For example, in 1996 and 2019, the vortex breakup at certain stratospheric levels occurred near the latest dates on record in the observational period. Persistence of stratospheric anomalies beyond a couple of weeks does happen, especially after strong SSW events. The atmosphere has memory because changes higher up can take time to propagate downwards. Persistence beyond a few weeks is unusual, but not unheard of in modern climate records. I thought I had more here to read. Okay, that didn't take too long. Thought it was going to be longer. Uh, okay, and I also had some commentary about the cold snap. Um, now, we are in a solar maximum right now, and that means that there are more sunspots than usual. And this is a maximum. In other words, this is a 22. It's an 11-year cycle where the sun is quiet, and then every 11 years it has a maximum, which means more sunspots, more CMEs, more ejections of energy from the sun. And every 22 years, it's compounded. It's like twice as much. And one of the things that happens during this are uh, coronal holes, or what look like big black holes in the sun. And they aren't really black holes, but they're just areas. They appear black because they're cooler. Those regions where the holes appear in the sun, those black spots, are actually cooler than the rest of the sun. And for the past couple of weeks, there has been a massive hole on the sun, right at the equator of the sun, facing the earth. And so, and by the way, I first heard about this probably over 10 years ago during the last solar maximum that we had. That's when I learned that these uh, can't think of the names of them, these holes, these sunspots, especially the big ones, are actually cooler than the usual surface of the sun. And there seemed to be a correlation between big sunspots and cold, uh, you know, cold snaps on Earth. In fact, this said the last one was in '96, which I think might have been '96. Anyways, it was during the last solar maximum. Another thing to point out that has been going on for the past few years seems to be more volcanic eruptions than usual. Um, I haven't verified this scientifically, but there have been lots and lots of volcanoes going off. What do volcanoes do? They put material into the atmosphere that blocks sunlight. So we have two things that could be causing colder weather to happen. The sunspots, huge, massive sunspots on the sun, and volcanic ash and particles in the atmosphere. Okay, so there's some simple, explainable reasons for the cold snap happens. All right. Now, with that said, I'm ready to draw cards on this. And the question is, did this most recent collapse of the polar vortex, was it was there any causal relationship between this and the chemtrails? In other words, was this some type of attack on humanity? Once again, I need to reiterate that I feel sure that in the past, weather manipulation has been a thing. But as I've been saying repeatedly, that for the most part, the tools of the cabal have been taken away from you. Their ability to create mass destruction, things like that. Now there's all this talk about first contact is going to happen this year, that the ETs are going to come peacefully, and they're bringing with them all sorts of technologies to help mankind. Oh, that reminds me of something else. I did a I've done a couple of reading on the mysterious booming sounds that we people have been hearing. When I was in the United States, in Florida first, I heard the booms off the coast of Florida, which you could argue was SpaceX. Okay. But then I heard them in Pennsylvania, well inland and not near any launch facilities. When I did a reading on that, I got that somehow these sound waves, these booms, are being used to clear the atmosphere of residual chemtrails from the past or and other pollutants that have been being put into the atmosphere. Right. So there are steps being taken right now to reverse things that have been done to us and to our planet by the cabal. And just think how much we're going to be able to do once we get these technologies, either from extraterrestrials or the ones that we have ourselves that have been hidden from us. We're going to be able to clean up all the plastics. We're going to get rid of all the radiation, if that really is a thing. Um, so many things. We're going to be able to get rid of coal burning, you know, and power plants, and we're going to go to 0 point energy, which is energy from nothing, basically. All right, get focused back into this. So I want to make this question very specific. The chemtrails that people were reporting now. Oh, I forgot to mention this too. I told you I'd never seen chemtrails myself personally. Seen the pictures, seen friends of mine who weren't even conspiracy theorists posting pictures. Never seen them like that, where you have this just checkerboard crisscross of chemtrails that just looks totally unnatural. Until I traveled home and I had a layover in Austria, and the airport there had these huge windows, like they spanned the entire ceiling to floor. They were huge, and you could see the runways and the sky. And the chemtrails were just mind blowing. I'd never seen anything like that before with my own eyes. Not that I didn't believe them, but I just never seen anything like it. And frankly, if I had that over my head every day, I would be upset. I would be worried too. So for the first time, I could kind of understand where you guys are coming from, because I swear to you, I'd never seen it that way. Um, I see jets sometimes going overhead with normal contrails behind them that just dissipate quickly, not leaving behind any residue. I think maybe once or twice I've seen a single contrail that didn't look right and spread out and seemed to be acting differently, but not nothing like what I saw in Austria. I didn't see any in Florida when I was there, nor Pennsylvania when I was there. So that was, I have to say, that was pretty shocking to me to see that. Maybe I'll do a reading on those chemtrails that I saw in Austria. Maybe there's some remnant of the cabal there that's still working. And what are the purpose? I don't know. Maybe just to make people sick. Okay, so here we go. This reading will be for the chemtrails slash contrails that were heavily being sprayed over the Midwest, central portions of America, like right here, right? And did these amplify this cold weather that came down in the past couple of weeks? All right, let's get into it. So the first card is the collective, the people of the United States, because that's what I'm looking. 6 of Wands, 7 of Swords, 9 of Cups, the Sun, the Sun. That's a good sign right there. Don't let me not celebrate too soon because it's this card that's very important. 4 of Pentacles, the Sun. Remember what I said about the sunspots and the Ace saying, yes, Scott was right. All right. Mhm. When I said I was talking about this card was the United States, also the government of the United States. This is a victory card. You see the laurel here? This is after the war. This is the returning hero after the war has finished. Okay. This is our military. This is our government. This is the true and the true collective consciousness of America and its leadership. The 9 of Cups. Those of us who are awake have been praying and manifesting the end to weather manipulation, to using the weather as a weapon against us. One of the strategies by what's the leftovers of the cabal is trying to convince people that they can still do things like that. That's what this card is. The 4 of Pentacles is the outcome is stability. Actually, there's some corrections being made in the Earth's um, systems, natural systems, and weather, and the geology of the Earth, everything that is getting back to normal. So it's stability. Fours are about stability. Pentacles are the Earth. In this case, it's literally the Earth. The military is control of the planes that were spraying chemtrails before. And you know that our military is now under the control of the White Hats. And I have to tell you, this is a huge relief to me because if I got towers and devils and hierophants and with negative cards around them, I would have to admit that I was wrong and that, oops, looks like we still are deep in the war, but we're not. Okay. And I'm tired of talking about it, frankly. You have to remember, except for, I took a break when I was 40 and I kind of became a worldly person and I, started enjoying the things that life can offer since that's when I came to Thailand. I didn't spend all my time studying prophecies and doing spiritual quests and things like that. However, I got into this fight 22 years, no, how many years ago? 42 years ago. And I'm tired. I don't want, I don't want to be I don't want to be fighting the battle anymore because the battle's over. That's what I think. If I'm a fool, so be it. But once again, my cards are backing me up. This is a natural reset of the earth getting back to what it should be. There's no demonic forces rubbing their hands and cackling in the shadows, casting spells and sending evil technology at us. So this is going to be, I think this is the end. We just went through the year of the snake. It's time to shed that old skin of victimhood, of being controlled by forces that are beyond us. It's done. It's over. So I think I'm going to start using my cards to try to bring answers to mysterious cold cases and maybe to help, at least in my mind, exonerate innocent people who have been sent to prison, like Scott Peterson. And I have to admit, since we share the same first name, it kind of always bothered me that this guy Scott could be innocent and spent the last 20 years of his life in prison. Alrighty. So I am going to now. Okay, I'm going to say goodbye. I'm going to end this, but I'm not going to end the broadcast. I got some for those of you who are watching live, my members. And even though I'm not going to be doing public lives anymore, where I'm taking people's questions and trying to assuage your fears, I still will be doing live streams for my members. So if you are a member, I please encourage you to maintain your membership. And if you're watching this in replay and you'd like to become a member to get in on some of those live chats that I'll be doing, um, I would appreciate it. Also, if you're a member and you could uh, bump your membership up to a sponsor membership to help me get Descript paid for the services, I'd appreciate that. Now, luckily for me, the free version allows for, I think, 60 minutes in 1 week. So by keeping this video short, once I'm done here, I've recorded it. I'll take this recording and I'm going to run it through um, the script editor and see what happens. And then that's the video that you guys will be watching. All right. So thanks for tuning in. Don't fear the chemtrails. At least not these ones. If you have chemtrails over your head, and if you want to know if they're good or bad, you can come and ask me, and I'll do a reading specifically for the chemtrails that you're seeing over your area. All right. All right. So thank you for watching, and tune in for my next investigation that I'm going to be doing on Lucy Letby. Did this young lady really kill these babies and try to kill many? I don't believe that she's guilty. So I'm going to be looking at. Good night. And by the way, you guys who are watching live, don't leave yet. I'm going to come back and talk to you.